My experience I want to end with is just going on a plane from Newark Airport to San Francisco. I was just a teenager. I was flying back to college in my freshman year, and I got on the plane to fly back. And any of you have to realize when you are flying on a packed flight for 6 hours, when you're my size, back then I was a college football player, you have to just imagine this with your eyes. If you can't see it, close your eyes and imagine this. Back then I was chiseled, guys. Can you see that? Right now I just jiggle, but back then I was chiseled. This guy, the situation, he was nothing. I was the situation. And so I get on this plane, 6'3", hard like a rock, muscles everywhere, and I tell you, it was a packed flight, and everybody was pushing and jostling, and that's the kind of times you can see the strength of your soul. Can you not get annoyed? Can you still smile? You see people, we know this in the schools, the littlest thing happens and suddenly they're in a bad mood. How dare you give somebody else the power to choose your emotions? You have the power to choose your mood, not some external circumstance. But either way, it was one of these tough flights, and I'm getting on the plane, and then when everybody settles into their seats, I realize that the Lord has looked down upon me and blessed me. Because the whole plane was packed except for me. Next to me were 2 empty seats. Now, I was playing tight end back then, and I had a pretty large tight end. And I was very happy. I could lift the armrest and spread out, and I could enjoy the entire row all for myself. And I looked around at all these people crammed into their seats, especially those poor people in the middle rows. And I was looking with smug satisfaction and sympathy and pity for all those people that were packed into their seats. And then the door to the plane closed, and I crossed my arms, and I looked up, and I know, God, you love me, don't you? And then, all of a sudden, as I was just enjoying myself, spreading out my stuff, and kicking my legs out real wide, suddenly the door to the plane opened up, and the cabin filled with this cacophonous scream that shook everybody to silence. We couldn't understand. Did somebody just get murdered outside of a plane? And everybody got quiet and looked at the door, and in walks this woman with a toddler in one hand, and as if this child, this baby in the other hand, had been hooked up like a speaker to a nuclear power generator. She was carrying a screaming baby. Everybody's looking at them, and then I can swear, at least this is how my memory has it, everybody then, after looking at her, slowly turned and looked at me. And now everybody was thinking, you smug little rat. You got what you deserve. And as she's getting closer and closer to me, my conversations with God changed from, Lord, you love me, to, dear God, why have you forsaken me? And she comes up here with her toddler and her woofer and tweeter, and she looks at me and she says, excuse me, I'm sitting there. And I'm like, okay. And I get up, and these 3 people sit in those 2 seats, and immediately I sit down and think to myself, you know what? This is either going to be the worst flight of my life, or I could try to make it the best flight of my life. And next thing you know, I turn around and look this baby in the eye, and I start smiling, making all kind of faces at it, and start talking to the woman. And as soon as I got myself out of my own drama, I realized that this woman was terribly embarrassed. That she was having everybody on the plane look at her with annoyed glances. And suddenly when I unplugged from my own drama and plugged into hers, my compassion started spilling over. I started playing games with the kid. We took off. Before I know it, I'm playing tic-tac-toe, hangman, and I'm telling this child all my best jokes appropriate for a 7-year-old. And I'm telling you, I got some good 7-year-old jokes. Why did Tigger and Igor have their heads in the toilet? Because they were looking for poo. I was killing at 35,000 feet, y'all. And so here we are, I'm just having a blast, we're talking. I'll never forget the movie that came on, Cory, with Denzel Washington. I'm like, you gotta watch the movie. She's like, I don't know. I go, I'll play with the kids, you watch this movie. By the time we landed, I'm telling you to this day, it was the quickest flight I've ever had across country. Those 6 hours went by in minutes. We exchanged, back then I didn't even have email addresses. This is the late 80s, and I basically just exchanged addresses with her, but I never hear from her. 5 years passed, 10 years passed. 15 years passed. It is like 2002. And I am running for mayor of the city of Newark. And if any of you have ever seen this movie called Street Fight, you can get it on Netflix. It was nominated for an Academy Award. It was a documentary done on my first run for mayor of the city of Newark. And the documentary did really well. On Tribeca, won Canadian Film Festival. this is about our city, but it lost in the Academy Awards to March of the Damn Penguins. Those flightless rodents. Anyway, I'm going through this tough election on one of the lowest days, where me and this amazing team of Newarkers who were fighting to try to create reform, we were standing up against all odds and obstacles. We were David getting beaten by Goliath. On the lowest day, I get this letter in the mail, and it's from this woman who says, "You may not remember me, but 15 years ago, I met you on an airplane from Newark Airport to San Francisco. And it was my first flight ever with my young children, and I really dreaded it. I was really afraid of going on. I didn't know what to expect. And then I encountered your kindness." And she went on to say some of the nicest things about how that affected her. And then she said at the end of the letter, she goes, I hope you don't mind, but my family owns a factory in Newark, and we employ a lot of Newark residents. We would love to have you come and speak to our employees. I've already told them about what kind of kind person you are." And then she went on to say, and that young man that you were playing with and telling all those horrible jokes to, he's now a senior in high school, and he'd like to volunteer on your campaign. And he ended up being one of our best volunteers. And then the last thing, she asked me a question that all politicians love to have. She said, "Would you mind if I gave you a campaign contribution?" And I said, "Of course." But this is the truth of our opportunity. Every day is a moment for us to shine our light. Every second, small or big, is a chance for us to be of service to the world. The kindest gestures, the smallest things, the simplest acts of generosity, over the lifetime, day after day, they add up to miraculous, to marvelous changes. I've seen it here in Newark. There's a guy on Elizabeth Avenue, a retired state worker who was living across from a lot overgrown with weeds and debris that was being used by drug dealers. And he just decided one day to go out and buy a lawnmower. And he just started tending to that lot. Within weeks, it was a beautiful lawn. And eventually the drug dealers left. He became a hero of his neighborhood, not because of some heroic act, just because every day or so he got up and mowed a lawn, raked leaves, cleaned up things. Small acts every single day are what this world is starving for. People that act consistently with love and kindness, who dare to tell their truth even if it's not popular. People who know that at the end of the day, when you come home and go to bed at night, the most important thing is did you give that day your all? Every opportunity to show kindness and decency, did you do it? I want to thank you all for being here. You're here because you have been recognized in many ways as leaders. But a leader, before anything, must be a servant. He who leads must be a servant to all. And I know this from my job. It's not about what you do when you're on TV or being interviewed. It's about doing what you do in your private moments when nobody's watching. Do you walk past a piece of trash in the street, or do you pick it up? Because that small act might liberate somebody to do the same. When you're walking down the hallway and see somebody struggling, do you offer them a hand? Do you check in with somebody and see how they're doing? These small things will ultimately, I believe, change the world. I wish you all the best in your journey. I wish you all the best in your commitment. May your love not only heal our planet, but also may open it up to new worlds of possibility in the future. Thank you.
So I'm going to just let you take that in. Finish up your breakfast. I'm going to just huddle up with the facilitators for a minute, and then we're going to break into groups. So finish breakfast. I'll be right back.